It will be alright.
Hello Lymanshire, my name is Steve and I am 30 Days Informed. Now the prevailing theme of American politics right now has three main points in contention with each other. That is to improve the economy, get us more jobs, but also to reduce the government deficit and debt. Unfortunately, we also have what can only be described as crippling partisanship in Congress, which has caused our government to basically come to a standstill, leading to our recent downgrade, the dissolution of several government agencies, and a general lack of faith among the American populace. These issues were the focus of most questions at the GOP debate on Wednesday and President Obama's address to the nation on Thursday. Now, unfortunately, because of the nature of the medium of a YouTube video, I do not have very much time to go into very much detail, but I'm going to outline as much as I can every politician's stance on these issues. So at the GOP debate on Wednesday, there was no real question that it became a competition between Rick Perry and Mitt Romney to become the frontrunner for the presidential election. This was also Rick Perry's first debate as a candidate, and therefore he had to make an impression. Rick Perry is known for being rather assertive in his statements, and he did not fail to satisfy us on Wednesday night. He touted his job creation record in Texas, and when asked about why most of these jobs were at or below minimum wage, he simply denied that that was the case. When asked about the healthcare overhaul in Massachusetts being used as a model for the national one, he said that it was a model of a failed one, but failed to substantiate that claim. His most famous line of the night was calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme, and when called out for using such incendiary language, he said that maybe it was time for such language in government. As a counter to Perry's more aggressive stances, Mitt Romney tried to remain lighthearted but still to the point. He criticized Perry's job creation record, saying that most of the increase was due to the booming oil industry in Texas, over which Perry had very little influence. He defended his healthcare bill in Massachusetts, but said it is not up to the federal government to make such decisions, and instead it should be up to the states, and therefore said that he would remove Obamacare upon taking office. After winning the straw poll in Iowa, Michelle Bachmann actually took a surprising step aside at the debates on Wednesday. She continued her relentless fight against Obamacare, saying that this bill, most of which does not go into effect until 2014, has already consumed 1/6 of the American economy. She also railed against the EPA and blamed Obama for rising gas prices. Unfortunately, she was really not given that much airtime and failed to substantiate these claims with anything more than anecdotal evidence. Newt Gingrich continued his tactic of the last debate, which was namely to criticize the questioner for asking irresponsible questions. He claimed that the MSNBC hosts were trying to pit the Republican nominees against each other, but in fact, they are actually all united against Obama. Unfortunately for Gingrich, this claim actually failed to separate him from the pack and therefore gave the Republicans no reason to choose him over any of the other candidates. Herman Cain's most memorable line of the night was when he outlined his 999 plan, which includes 9% sales tax, 9% corporate tax, and 9% income tax. This plan would eliminate loopholes and make everybody pretty much equal in terms of tax payment. He jokingly added that if 10% is good enough for God, 9% should be good enough for the government. Rick Santorum was probably given the least amount of airtime for the debate, but he did have time to say that he thought corporate tax should be reduced from 35% to 0%. Ron Paul just... He said he can make gas cost a dime a gallon because a silver dime is worth $3.50. He said that we can cut $20 billion in defense spending by not providing air conditioning to the troops in the Middle East. He advocated dissolving the TSA and making every airline do security screening privately. He also said that we should do away with minimum wage and car safety requirements because Americans know a good car when they see one. In an effort to remain objective, I'm gonna stop there. Finally, John Huntsman, or as my friends and I like to call him, J. Browse, tried to appeal to a more moderate voter base. He firmly stated his belief in science, particularly in terms of evolution and climate change, something which Rick Perry said was still not settled in the scientific community. He also defended his own job creation record, saying in no uncertain terms that while he was in office, Utah experienced the highest job creation record of any state in the country. On to the presidential address. After a scheduling snafu in which for the first time in American history, the Speaker of the House refused the president's request to speak in front of Congress, Obama had to take a slot just before the beginning of the NFL season. In his address, he outlined his Job Creation Act in the form of a kind of pep talk / ultimatum. Essentially, he wanted swift passage of his generally politically moderate bill so that the American people did not have to wait until the next election cycle to improve the economy. His bill, which he claims will be entirely paid for if budget reform goes according to plan, will end up costing approximately $450 billion, which is both more than most congressmen would be willing to approve and less than most economists think will be necessary. It included payroll tax reduction, tax incentives for businesses to hire stateside, a significant overhaul of government regulation, and an increase in funding for education and infrastructure, among other things. Frankly, I found it hard not to get swept up in his rather thrilling speech, which had me feeling kind of optimistic about the economic outcome, but at the same time time, I don't think that it's a good idea to be reducing taxes at the present because they're the lowest they've been in 60 years, and we really need to increase taxes if we want to fund the government as it currently stands. Many corporations agree, saying that it's consumer spending and not tax incentives that drives their business. It's basic laws of supply and demand. Similarly, I found it really easy to be snarky about Republicans, but once I remembered that I did need to open up my mind to what they were saying, I did find certain amounts of logic. I especially liked what John Huntsman was saying, but in terms of actual electability, I think Mitt Romney is the Republican that I would go for. It's just an example of how easy it is to get swept up in partisan bickering and how much you can actually sympathize with people once you know where they're coming from. So by the same token, don't think that this is the end of the conversation. Please leave comments, please reply to other people's comments, please share this video, and most importantly, let your representatives know what you think about these important issues because you never know what kind of change you can affect. Thank you to those of you who did send your thoughts over Twitter. I will be rolling those tweets over the end screen, and with that, I will see you guys next time.
I'm not quite good at first impressions. I'm not so strong at first sight. But if this is the first and